Nachi free.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Aleppo is in Syria. It's the epicenter of the refugee crisis.
Okay, got it. Got it.
If you vote for Gary Johnson, you're an idiot.
I'm still voting for Gary Johnson. And I don't care what my favorite political talk show, Morning Joe, has to say about it, or even if one of my favorite YouTubers, Paul Joseph Watson, thinks that makes me an idiot. Though I will agree asking, what is Aleppo? That was a pretty big gaffe. For a presidential candidate, that's almost inexcusable, though I wouldn't go so far as to say it's disqualifying. And for anyone criticizing Gary Johnson for fumbling through his answer about working with Russia to defeat ISIS, I hope you're not a Trump supporter, because Trump practically has a bromance crush on Vladimir Putin. And for any Hillary Clinton supporters who must think, well, my girl knows what Aleppo is, of course she does. Because thanks to her tenure as Secretary of State and Obama's foreign policy, that's part of the reason why we've got the Syrian crisis in the first place. That's why I can find a silver lining to Gary Johnson's blunder. I'm glad to see he practices what he preaches when it comes to avoiding foreign entanglements in military conflicts, which doesn't make him an isolationist either. It's a good thing he didn't immediately respond by talking about drone strikes or bombing the shit out of ISIS to see if the sand will glow, like Ted Cruz did. Remember him, the evangelical Christian ready to take on a 21st century crusade? And don't get me wrong, my gut feeling is to bomb the shit out of ISIS too, as well as Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, Boko Haram, and even Saudi Arabia, and the whole lot of these theocratic dictatorships that operate under the banner of Islam and the will of Allah. When I wouldn't be surprised if more than half of these psychopaths are probably atheists to top it off. But they keep the religious charade going because it's one of the most effective systems of subjugation and mind control. But the main reason why I'm still voting for Gary Johnson is because there's no way I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton and much less Donald Trump. Just this week, Trump was praising Vladimir Putin yet again. Another psychopathic dictator who's known for having journalists and political opponents murdered. It's not for nothing why even Edward Snowden wants out of Russia now. And that's who Donald Trump praises as being a strong leader. Which is another reason why I would vote for Gary Johnson. Because he is a decent human being and a nice guy. Though I'll admit, when I started doing my research on him and watching his interviews and previous debates, he struck me as too nice of a guy. He actually says things like, gee whiz. And I get it, we need strength and leadership, which is why Gary Johnson seems to throw people off whenever they hear him speak. They also sense that he was too nice, almost weak and kind of goofy. But I'm painfully aware of the problem with too much strength and leadership. Like this walking, talking, cancerous tumor Fidel Castro, who made my family's life a living hell and who murdered and executed thousands of Cubans with impunity thanks to another form of religion known as Marxism and his unconscionably hypocritical supporters that sympathize with that pseudo-intellectual horseshit. You fucking cunts. Sorry, I had to throw that one in. Harumph! Back to my pontification. There needs to be a limit to strength and leadership, and power-hungry candidates like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump don't seem to know where that limit ends. It's not for nothing why Donald Trump isn't satisfied with simply being a billionaire and spending a little more time with his third trophy wife, and why Hillary Clinton thinks she also needs to be in power because her husband being a two-term president wasn't enough. Bottom line, in defense of Gary Johnson, his asking, what is Aleppo, is not enough to dissuade me from voting for a man who I am positive has a genuine concern for the humanitarian crisis in Syria and would handle that situation with the necessary strength to put an end to that problem without creating any new ones. And while I don't agree with Gary Johnson on every single issue, I'm still voting for the man because he's the only candidate who I agree with on the issues that do count, namely how to deal with our economy and how to preserve our freedoms through limited government. As a self-made millionaire and two-term governor, and even a triathlete, Gary Johnson is hardly an idiot. And it's a shame he may not make it to the presidential debates to prove that. Which is why I'm going to proudly put this sticker on my car and hope that no one is stupid and mean-spirited enough to deface my car for exercising my freedom of expression in this crazy, tumultuous election year. Thanks for watching.
Homegrown.